Face with real skin texture, natural hair, and reflective eyes, able to read your expressions and recognize your mood in just a few seconds. In today's episode here on Realidade Impressionante, we're going to analyze this futuristic hardware and travel to the year 2050 to understand how society will be reconfigured by this new species. In quotes, species, okay? Bionic. In addition, we'll see hyper-realistic androids that are starting to enter homes, humanoids that climb mountains, patrol streets like police officers, and also work in post offices and learn to explore unknown environments without any map or prior instruction. At the same time, a new geopolitical dispute is putting entire nations in a race to determine who will control the physical economy of the future. Maybe the most important question, my friends, is no longer whether robots will be part of our society. Maybe it's about figuring out what our role will be in a world shared with these machines. Let's try to understand all of this. Hello, impressed viewers. I'm Carlos Alves, and you're watching Amazing Reality. Yeah, my friends, the gap between virtual artificial intelligence and androids with a very realistic appearance is already disappearing, The Chinese giant Robotics caught the industry's attention by presenting, through its consumer brand, World, the U1 series, a new generation of ultra-realistic humanoid robots that are specifically created for companionship and interaction inside our homes. Today, on Reality Impressive, that's what we're going to analyze, this impressive hardware. And we'll also take a brief trip to the year 2050 to understand how society could really be transformed by this new, as I mentioned at the beginning, bionic species, in quotes, okay? The launch of this new line of robots represents an important change in the history of robotics. Until now, humanoids have been developed mainly for industrial environments and research laboratories. Now the focus is on the home environment. It was reported that the male model is approximately 1.83 meters tall, while the female version is 1.68 meters. Both use extremely realistic synthetic silicone skin and feature an impressive 88 degrees of freedom, allowing for smooth and expressive movements of the torso, neck, and arms. But the real difference is not in the body, but in its mind. The androids use encrypted local artificial intelligence to hold conversations, interpret tones of voice, and provide emotional support by identifying signs of sadness or stress in their users. Interestingly, Ubitech itself decided to impose physical limitations on its project. The current models were not created to do house cleaning, to climb stairs, or even to replace domestic workers. Their purpose is much more psychological and social. Even so, the pre-sale sparked enormous interest from people. Thousands of reservations were registered in just a few days. But what will happen when this technology really matures in the coming decades? If we fast forward to 2050, for example, it's likely that the physical limitations of this Series 1.1 will have completely disappeared. Hyper-realistic androids with faces almost indistinguishable from ours will no longer be confined to living rooms and will become part of the infrastructure of our cities. Artificial intelligence embedded in bodies covered with synthetic skin could dominate sectors such as hospitality, customer service, corporate reception, and support services. The visual boundary between biological employees and synthetic employees will begin to disappear, profoundly changing the way we perceive identity, loneliness, and social interaction. This expansion of artificial anatomy will also reach extremely sensitive areas of civilization. In public security, for example, it is already possible to imagine patrol forces made up of advanced humanoid robots, capable of processing information in milliseconds and reacting to critical situations without any fear or fatigue. On stages and screens, entertainment could be dominated by eternally young synthetic performers, capable of giving performances anywhere on the planet without aging or getting tired. Inside homes, current emotional companions could evolve into true personal advisors, monitoring health, helping with children's education, and also organizing the family routine in an almost invisible way, without us even noticing. Perhaps the most profound transformation isn't in the technology itself, but in the way we humans will come to see these machines. The one model from Ubitech may represent just the first step in a long biochronicle in which humans and artificial intelligences will share the same physical space, and of course no longer as tools and users, but as inhabitants of the same society. And here's the question, my friends. If you could design the personality and appearance of your own android companion, what would they be like? Leave a comment below, all right? That boosts engagement and helps me learn more about you. We just saw a development coming out of China, an ultra-realistic humanoid robot. And while you leave your comment below, let's now analyze what the nationalities of these robots will be in the future. Let's take a look. The true technological race of the 21st century won't be decided just by rockets or supercomputers, for example. The most important battle is happening quietly in factories, universities, and research centers that are spread all over the planet. In June of this year, during the International Conference on Robotics and Automation, ICRA 2026, which was held in Vienna, experts revealed that a new Cold War has already begun quietly. But this time, instead of nuclear weapons, what's at stake is control over the world's physical economy. At this point, let's analyze the projections that show how different countries are building their own strategies to ensure their industrial survival in an area dominated by artificial intelligence and advanced robotics. One of the main conclusions presented during the conference demonstrates a very popular idea: the existence of a universal robot that is capable of serving all kinds of markets. According to Hexeng Wang from Jiantong University of Shanghai, there is not just a single path to automation. Each region of the planet has demographic challenges, economic structures, and cultures that are quite different from one another. And this is creating an unprecedented technological fragmentation, where various blocs are developing their own visions about the future of machines. In East Asia, for example, 3 distinct strategies are shaping the global race. China is betting on scale and speed. The country has created an integrated ecosystem between the government, universities, and industry, allowing hundreds of startups to develop solutions at a very fast pace. The goal is to incorporate artificial intelligence into all sectors of the economy and thus dominate the global supply chain of components and hardware. Meanwhile, Japan follows a completely different philosophy. Facing severe population aging, the Japanese have turned robotics into a tool for social survival. Their focus isn't on viral videos or explosive growth, but rather on the reliability, durability, and cultural acceptance of these machines. Today, the country has a density of about 446 robots for every 10,000 human workers. South Korea has one of the world's highest automation rates, with about 1,200 robots per 10,000 workers. The country operates under a centralized strategy that integrates artificial intelligence, industry, and national planning, thus forming one of the most advanced infrastructures in the world. On the other hand, Europe decided to build its own identity. In Vienna, Eurorobotics President Francisco Ferro presented the Vienna Declaration, calling for robotics focused on human-machine collaboration, environmental sustainability, and inclusion of unions, insurers, and labor laws in the process. The European goal, at least the stated one, is not to indiscriminately replace people, but rather to create an ecosystem where automation is socially accepted and operates in harmony with society. In the United States, we see several companies. Elon Musk seems to be, or at least to be, the public face of all this, along with Sam Sinelto from OpenAI. But the technological sovereignty of a nation will depend less on spectacular demonstrations and much more on the ability to create a trust infrastructure that will be shared among governments, companies, and citizens. Robots will no longer be just a technological innovation. They will become one of the main driving forces in modern geopolitics and may determine which nations will lead the physical economy in the coming decades. From now on, my friends, in this episode, we will see some of the new developments in humanoid machines that are shaping our society. Shall we take a look? Climbing a volcano over 6,000 meters high and facing some of the most hostile and freezing environments on our planet? Yeah, that happened. Forget about the lab videos where robots just dance or do perfect somersaults that are all choreographed. Robotics engineering and mountaineering have reached a pretty impressive milestone. A modified humanoid robot managed to reach the summit of Ecuador's Chimborazo volcano in one of the most challenging technological expeditions ever carried out. Named Project Pemba, the initiative was led by engineer Pablo Berlanga Boimara, who is the founder of Geologic Dome and a former wildlife conservation specialist. The goal of the expedition goes far beyond sporting achievement. The team intends to turn humanoid robots into tools capable of operating in remote regions, helping with environmental protection, fighting illegal deforestation, and monitoring against poaching in hard-to-reach areas. But the expedition also served as an important reality check. This modified version of Unitrue G1 showed that full autonomy is still far from being achieved. On terrain with slopes less than 30 degrees, the robot walked on its own and maintained good stability. However, during the most technical and steep sections of this long 16-hour journey to the summit, the team members themselves had to carry the robot on their backs. The goal now is to use reinforcement learning to train the neural networks directly with the data collected from this expedition, allowing the metallic legs to actually learn to cross ice, rocks, and crevasses in a completely independent way, without needing to be carried on anyone's back. Surviving the extreme cold was another monumental challenge, you know? At high altitudes, the extremely low temperatures drastically reduce battery efficiency and make cooling the processors a critical problem. To face these conditions, Pemba was given special custom-made clothing combined with active thermal management systems. This architecture was based on previous tests carried out in the Altai region of China, where the nitride G1 structure had already demonstrated the ability to operate at temperatures close to minus 47 degrees. But Chimborazo represents only the first chapter of this adventure. In partnership with Fortune 4 Edition, the researchers intend to take the robot to Mount Everest, deploying it between Base Camp and Camp 4 at an altitude of almost 8,000 meters. The mission would serve to study the wear of the joints, monitor the glaciers, and even help with the removal of accumulated trash from these mountains. However, an unexpected obstacle arose. The government of Nepal temporarily halted the plans for an unusual reason. There simply are no laws to regulate non-human climbers. It will be necessary to create new legislation. Climbing mountains, entering a chaotic construction site, going into a dark underground mine, or into a completely unknown disaster zone and starting to work immediately without prior maps, planned routes, or GPS signal. This is the kind of autonomy we're seeking for these robots. A partnership between the sensor manufacturer Oster and the artificial intelligence developer Field AI has created a system capable of giving robots a universal brain and a new generation of digital color eyes. Traditionally, putting robots to work in new environments requires a huge amount of preparation. Engineers need to build detailed three-dimensional maps, install physical markers, or rely on external localization systems if the environment changes even a little, or if smoke or fog blocks the cameras. Everything blocks the cameras, but things are changing, my friends. A Field AI has developed an artificial intelligence capable of allowing different machines to enter a new environment, exactly like a newly arrived human worker does, observing the scene and learning to operate without any prior knowledge. The secret lies in the so-called field foundation models, large neural networks specifically trained to understand the laws of physics in the real world, and thus make decisions in environments as unpredictable as the ones we live in today, every day. Since this architecture is independent of the type of robot used, it can work on completely different platforms, managing both locomotion and actions in places that are constantly changing. But no artificial brain is efficient without proper eyes. To feed this artificial intelligence, the Ulster LiDAR Heavy 8 platform comes into play. Unlike traditional sensors, which produce only gray point clouds, the Heavy 8 adds color perception to three-dimensional maps. Using extremely fast laser pulses, the system measures distance and creates precise spatial representations, even in total darkness, under heavy dust, or in industrial environments subject to strong vibrations. This additional layer of information allows artificial intelligence to instantly differentiate an oil puddle from a simple shadow on the ground, drastically increasing the safety of decisions made by machines. As the technology expands among major industrial clients, Field AI accelerates the arrival of so-called physical artificial intelligence, and we'll see an example of that now. Actually, right after this important message here. It's important for you and also for the channel, okay? Go ahead. Take a look, please. And there's a technology that's already working in more than 180 countries and that many Brazilians are already using. It's Nomad. And I'll be direct, okay? It helps you stop losing money. Nomad converts your money to the currency of the country you're in, whether it's Brazil or abroad. You open your account in just 5 minutes, get the virtual card, and then the physical one. You travel, shop online, or subscribe to foreign services with no hidden fees and no surprises at the end. And pay attention to this, okay? Nomad has launched its international eSIM chip, and you only activate it when you arrive at your destination. It works on Android and iOS and gives you internet in over 30 countries. And if you're Nomad level PES level 1 to 4, you get 1 GB for free. Level 5, the internet is unlimited for 15 days, and Nomad is giving $20 in cashback to new customers. but it's only for those who open an account right now, even when using the code R20 on your first currency exchange. So don't waste any time, my friend. Open your account using the link in the description, the pinned comment, or even the QR code on your screen. Get your cash back now and stop spending way more than you need to. And of course, you also help Redito Realidade Impressionante keep bringing you the cutting-edge technologies you always love to see here. Help me out and I'll help you, deal? A synthetic workforce capable of reading, sorting, and also dispatching thousands of letters and packages per hour without needing rest is already in operation. Chinese automation has just reached one of the most traditional pillars of public infrastructure, the postal service. In June of this year, China Post put humanoid robots to work in one of the country's largest mail processing centers. The Chinese state-owned Post Group decided to integrate humanoid robots into a gigantic logistics center that is responsible for processing about 6.5 million packages per day. In this environment, the new synthetic workers operate side by side with autonomous forklifts and robotic arms. They thus form an automation chain that operates almost without interruptions and with almost no human assistance. The details released by the state media reveal the anatomy of the machines chosen for this mission. The model used is the Shindong M7 developed by the robotics company Robot Era. Although the platform may receive legs in the future, the engineers have chosen, at least for now, a fixed platform configuration. By doing this, they decided to install the robots on pedestals along the sorting conveyors. The focus is not on mobility, but on precision. To locate each package, M7 uses a 360-degree vision system based on three-dimensional LiDAR sensors. This spatial perception powers arms with 7 degrees of freedom and hands equipped with 12 independent joints, thus prioritizing finger dexterity and fine manipulation capability. The reason they introduced these machines into the postal system is for operational consistency. According to data released by People Daily, groups of robots working together can maintain a steady pace of about 1,200 packages per hour. Unlike humans, metal doesn't suffer from muscle fatigue or injuries caused by repetitive movements during long night shifts. But the reality of engineering is still far from perfect, you know? Despite the long marketing campaign around robots, pure speed is still an area where we humans still hold a slight advantage. A comparative test conducted by Figurae in the United States revealed that an average human intern, even taking breaks and meals, managed to sort 192 more packages than a humanoid robot during a full 10-hour shift. This shows that the embodied artificial intelligence wins in consistency and endurance, but still, at least for now, hasn't reached the instant reaction capability and adaptability of the human brain. Even so, the presence of these humanoid robots within the Chinese postal infrastructure reveals something much bigger, my friends. For the first time, governments are showing enough trust to hand over critical parts of essential services to machines. Tests with robot police officers are already happening there, my friends. Want to take a look? A metal agent almost 1.75 meters tall, equipped with advanced sensors, capable of analyzing crowds in real time and performing combat moves? My friends, this is already happening in China, okay? The future of urban policing has started to gain ground over there and right on the streets. It's impressive. In Shenzhen, some police units have started using the humanoid robot T-800 in public security patrol missions. The T-800 has a robust structure built with aerospace-grade aluminum. The robot weighs approximately 75 kilograms and uses an NVIDIA Orin processor as the command center for all its artificial intelligence tasks, allowing most of the processing to be done locally without constantly relying on external connections. Its architecture, as you can see, was specifically designed for persistent surveillance operations. The T-800 combines Intel RealSense depth cameras, high-speed visual sensors, microphones, and a 360-degree LiDAR system that is installed in its head. Depending on the configuration, its joints offer between 24 and 41 degrees of freedom. One of the most impressive features of this robot is its mechanical waist, which is capable of rotating 320 degrees. This allows the system to instantly change the direction of the cameras and monitor threats that might be behind the robot, and it does this without needing to turn its own body. To maintain long periods of patrolling, the T-800 uses solid-state batteries, which provide between 4 and 5 hours of battery life. But the real purpose of this machine lies in its practical functions. Operating autonomously, but for now under human supervision, the robot transmits real-time information to command centers, thus allowing instant data cross-checks for facial recognition in busy areas. The system is also used to locate elderly people, whether they are oriented or disoriented, who have gone missing in densely populated urban environments. In addition, thanks to its natural language models, the T-800 is able to communicate in Mandarin and Cantonese, thus providing information and guidance to citizens and tourists on the streets of Shenzhen. Before joining the security forces, the robot drew attention on social media one night. During a demonstration, he delivered a powerful front kick to the company's own CEO to prove that the robot's capability was indeed real. It wasn't something fake made just to impress. However, this rapid transition from laboratories to urban policing has sparked international debates about the ethical limits of using semi-autonomous systems in public security roles. And if you still doubt how far humanoid robots can go, my friends, take a look at what this one has achieved. Just take a look. Climbing a continuous staircase of 17 floors. Not even I can do that, okay? Relying exclusively on a depth camera with no external sensors, no pre-programmed maps, and without the help of sophisticated motion capture systems used in laboratories. This already happened with Tiangong, who was pushed to the limit. In a series of real-world tests that truly put its physical endurance and built-in intelligence to the test. Instead of staying inside laboratories, it was placed in real-world scenarios, where uneven floors, sharp turns, and unpredictable obstacles replace perfectly planned environments. The secret of this demonstration lies precisely in the absence of any external help. After the steps, the robot went through indoor corridors full of curves and obstacles, navigating completely autonomously. And the test was completed with long walks in outdoor environments and uneven terrain, as well as lowering itself and practically crawling, thus testing the wear and tear on the joints, the mechanical structure, and the electronic systems. Yeah, my friends, in today's episode, we saw a preview of what's waiting for us in the future. If you liked it, leave your like and make sure you're subscribed, all right? The platform can sometimes remove it, as I said. Click one of the 2 suggestions and I'll see you in the next one. Just click. I'll be there saying something similar. And in today's episode, or if you're watching more recent videos, it might start a little differently, but the important thing is that I see you there. Click there. Bye-bye.